As you reach into the next octave, the carbon octave, and they call that a bisexual tone.
All right, I'm going to play something for you that dozens of you sent to me. There was a very interesting, in some sense, episode of the Joe Rogan program the other day with an actor named Terrence Howard. I am going to play a clip for you during which Terrence Howard has a mental crash, the likes of which I don't remember seeing on any recent program of any kind, even considering Donald Trump's recent statements. But it is something that many people are hearing and saying this guy is absolutely brilliant. And this goes to a broader and important point that I write about in my forthcoming book, The Echo Machine. Yes, the title of the book has been changed. It is now called The Echo Machine. I'll tell you more about it when we get closer, which is that there are certain kinds of conversations that are absolutely impossible to have if we don't start from a common understanding of some basic facts. And this goes beyond politics. This is just really an extreme example. They're talking about the periodic table of elements. Terrence Howard has ideas about the periodic table. It relates to the noise that different elements make. He says that there are elements. By elements, I don't mean like elements of medical, the way Trump talks about. I'm talking about, boron and newtonium and carbon. Some elements make bisexual noises. You're probably saying, David, what the are you talking about? But they make a bisexual noise. What are you, like neon's gay? What are you talking about? That's exactly right. So I'm going to play this for you. It is difficult to listen to, but my main point here is thousands of people saw what I'm about to play for you and said, this guy's brilliant. This is why we can't just listen to the scientists, because this guy's brilliant. Let's dive into this. Get the popcorn out.
It's Walter Russell's periodic table that he put together. Now you compare that to what Mendeleev's periodic table. You'll compare Walter Russell's to it, and you'll see something completely different. It's unwinding.
Whoa.
It's unwinding.
All right. So he starts to explain this whole thing about the real periodic table. And then we get into what I would consider some of the wackiest stuff.
One substance. Now, the problem is the first thing that we're able to perceive is hydrogen. That's the first visible element, because before it is too dense for us to perceive it. You understand what I'm saying?
Okay.
But as you reach into the next octave, the carbon octave, and they call that a bisexual tone,
right?
Because the carbon has two tones to it. It has a negative side and a positive side, the part where lithium behaves.
Right. I mean, this is an interesting question. Which are the bisexual elements? Which are the gay elements? Are there lesbian elements? Do any elements transition? These are not things that are well understood by the scientific world because they make no sense whatsoever. This is, I showed this to chemistry people and I showed this to mental health people. The chemistry people said to me, David, there is not even a vague overlap between this entire thing that Rogan's going, interesting, man, interesting. There's not even a vague overlap to reality from a chemistry standpoint. And the mental health people I showed it to said, this is very serious. You might classify, without diagnosing, you might classify this as severe mental illness if someone presented in your office and said this stuff. Let's listen to a little bit more of it. And it only gets wackier. I mean, can it really get wackier than bisexual elements?
Helium and oxygen. That's why it said, and what they've tried to keep from us, if you want to break water into its component parts of hydrogen and oxygen, all you have to do is introduce beryllium or the sound of beryllium. And oxygen will violently...
I once heard beryllium make a racist comment, and it almost caused a black hole.
Break away from any other thing, even hydrogen, to bond with that beryllium. And now you can have it just with the frequency of it. And since the hydrogen is smaller...
So it just goes on like this. I mean, I have other clips. I don't even know if it makes sense to play a lot of these. But on every topic, it was 2.5 hours of this.
Time for a new laptop?
You know...
Oh, wait, sorry. This is the wrong one. Here we go.
The lie.
If you're right so many people are wrong.
Everyone's wrong. Oh, well, the universe backs me up. And I have the proof of it. You have all these physicists that's saying something different, but none of them have 97 patents. None of them have introduced a new form of flight with unlimited midair bonding.
So listen, a lot of mental health professionals I showed this to said this often is like, I don't even want to get into it because it's just like we shouldn't be diagnosing. But the point is, this would be often like the way people speak when they are in and ultimately medicated by psychiatry, which I'm sure Terrence Howard has a vision of and an opinion about as well. You can't solve problems or figure things out with people who disagree about the fundamental nature of reality. Now, this is an extreme opinion, right? This is different than, hey, you know what? You think low taxes make more sense. I think higher taxes make more sense. In fact, often with those sorts of conversations, you can ultimately come to a shared understanding on 90% of stuff. And then the last 10% is just about opinion or ethics or what you think is right or what you think. So there actually is a lot of space to work with people with whom we disagree about conclusions to solve problems. That is actually possible. But in between that, like disagreements about tax policy, and this is a large area where you really can't deal with these people. A lot of MAGA is beyond just we disagree about what tax rates should be. It's beyond that. It's more here. And so when we talk about we've lost a shared basis, not only of what the facts are, but what count as facts. I assure you that on some of this stuff, Terrence Howard believes that he's talking about facts rather than assertions for which one probably couldn't even find evidence or couldn't even really describe what the evidence would be. I mean, listen, some of the elements make a bisexual noise. What? How would we even say, let's agree how we would determine the homosexuality or heterosexuality or bisexuality of the tone generated by oxygen, right? We wouldn't even get to that. And so the point here is to take this extreme example of a guy who sounds like he's really going through some stuff to say that if we are going to solve some of the biggest problems that we are dealing with right now and move forward as a species, we're going to need to get people together where at least we have a common and shared understanding of reality as a mere starting point, and even that won't guarantee success, which is pretty disappointing and scary to think about. It is time to start thinking like voters and to make sure that kids understand the importance of voting, how it works, registering, ballot initiatives, because so many kids just have no idea. That's why I wrote the new children's book, Think Like a Voter. I can think of no better time and no more important group of folks to try to reach. The book is now available at davidpakman.com/book, where, by the way, you can get the first 2 books in the series as well. Think Like a Detective and Think Like a Scientist. Really important stuff. Donate them to local libraries, classrooms, read them with the kids. davidpakman.com/book.